Hey guys, we just arrived here at the boat this fine Sunday. We are going to be continuing to remove deck hardware off the boat and prepping her for
deck paint. If you watched our last video, you'll know that we're having a lot of issues with leaks, and basically almost all of the deck hardware leaks to some degree. Now, the only way to fix this is to actually pull the deck hardware and rebed it. But we also want to paint the deck. So we figured we might kill two birds with one stone, and that would be to remove all the deck hardware, because you have to do that to paint anyway, paint the deck, make it all nice and brand new, and then put everything back together while rebedding all the deck hardware, including the new port lights that will be going in. So we think it's going to be a pretty good way to get everything nice and new looking and watertight.
Because the last thing you want as a boat owner is for your boat to leak.
All right, let's get started. One more thing I need to show you guys. If you want one, link is in the description. Ridiculous. Okay, so our neighbor is like yelling at every single boat that's going by. Can you hear that? She's just like screaming at these boats, but it's hilarious. But they're not going by really fast. They're just going by like maybe 5 or 6 miles an hour, maybe creating like a little of a wake, and she's just like slow down, slow down.
Yeah, driving that phone again.
Can you hear that? She's been going like this for like 10 minutes.
Like, I think she's gonna do it for every boat that goes by, which would be pretty extreme.
She keeps yelling at the people going by, and then you just hear her just go like, ow, my foot, or something like that. Ow, my leg.
Who would you contact? The Coast Guard. Yeah. Because it's illegal. Yell at them. They're going too fast. They slow down. No way. Slow down. No way. Slow down. Slow down. No way.
So we don't have too much time today, but the goal is going to be to get this duct tape off and fill the holes. This is where the propane bottle was, and we now have epoxy and thickening agent to fill those holes. And we're going to be removing these little wood blocks. There's one here, one there, and then there's one right up there. And what those did is I think they held in a dinghy on deck, from the previous owner, but we don't have that dinghy. It's definitely not where we put it if we had one, so we're going to remove those as well. We're also going to go ahead and remove all these teak handrails because we're going to be replacing them. So the reason I actually want to replace these is because, as you can see, it's about the diameter of my pinky, these handles. So they're really worn out, and they're not supposed to be that thin. They've just been sanded and redone and kind of worn out for the past 40 years. So we're going to be replacing these with stainless steel handrails. Stainless steel is going to require a lot less maintenance and should last longer. Randy's down there working. Just wanted to make a quick side note. I am aware there is a specific bit that allows you to drill out those bungs pretty easily so that you can back out the screws without damaging the surrounding teak. But we're not keeping these pieces, and we don't have that bit, so we're just doing what we do best, just tearing stuff apart. Just destroying things.
It doesn't want to come up.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Let me go down below and see.
Playing good old Mr. AC today. Alright guys, so we've got a little bit of a dilemma here. We wanted to pull the teak handrails. I didn't see any nuts or any hardware for the deck handrails on the inside, so I figured they were just screwed directly into the core of the deck. I was wrong. They're through bolted, but the nuts on the inside that you need to hold in order to take out the screws and get the handrails off are underneath the headliner.
Now Now, if you watched our adventures with our previous boat, Somnium, you know we have some experience with headliner. We wanted to remove the headliner in Somnium because it was 30-year-old carpet with all sorts of crud in it. So we removed said carpet and then discovered an insane adhesive underneath that carpet that took forever to remove. We never finished the job. One can only hope that this would be easier if we chose to take this on.
So the way the deck hardware is mounted in this boat, it's mounted two ways. And it looks like one was probably done by the factory and one might have been done by previous owners. The factory way, because it's kind of almost impossible for a previous owner to do it this way,
The T handrails.
is the T handrails.
Yeah.
They hid the nuts underneath the headliner, which I'll show you right now. It looks great because the handrails are about right here and you can't see any nuts or any mounting hardware at all. The headliner hides it. So that means you can't get those handrails off without taking out this headliner. The other way is to actually attach the mounting hardware, the backing plates and the nuts, directly over and through the headliner. Doesn't look as good, but it's accessible. So you can remove that deck hardware and rebed it if you need to. And I think we're going to be looking for a solution that's somewhere in between those two options. The best way, I feel, and like this is just my opinion, is to actually mount the nuts and the backing plates directly to the coach roof, and then create a suspended headliner that covers everything, makes it look good. However, that headliner should be removable. I think we've made our decision to what we're going to do. What is that?
The suspended headliner.
Yeah, so we gotta rip this headliner out. I think for now we're just gonna cut like a small slit or just a little hole over each of the nuts so that we can access them and use them with a socket wrench and hold them so that we can get the handrails out. Because the goal for today was to get those handrails out, not to tear out the headliner. Although it is something we're gonna have to do in the future.
So let's get back to work.
Started out as little holes like this just to access the nuts. Became tears like this. It's no going back now. We're going to be replacing this headliner, but I needed to do this in order to be able to tape this side so that I can fill the holes with thickened epoxy. I drilled out all the holes that I took the deck hardware off and the handles off a little bit more, just so that I can make it easier for myself to fill it with epoxy, as well as to kind of get an idea of how wet the core is in those areas. And pretty much every hole was pretty dry. There was only two that were concerning, and they were in the actual cockpit down here. Basically mush came out of them. But knowing how thick the laminate is on the top and the bottom skins, I don't know that it's going to be, that much of a structural issue. We'll see. The actual cockpit floor doesn't seem spongy at all, so we're going to kind of leave it alone for now, and if we have to replace it in the future, then we will. This boat's built like a tank. The top and bottom skins of the deck are very, very thick, basically as thick as the actual core itself. So I don't know that, even if the core was soaking wet, I don't know that it would be that much of an issue. This boat's just built like a tank. That's one of the reasons why I don't understand why people don't consider the Endeavour 32 a blue water boat. It seems like it meets all the criteria. This boat is very heavily built. I don't know why it's not considered a blue water boat. Hey guys, so I was editing this video and I realized somewhere along the line I somehow deleted footage, and the footage was basically the ending of this video, so now this is going to be the ending of the video. So basically I just need to summarize what we wanted to go over for the ending. The first being, yes, I know that looks sloppy the way I filled those holes with the resin and filler. I'm gonna have to blame Defender on that one, and the fact that I'm just too cheap to buy more supplies, but all the supplies I ordered from Defender were late and I was too cheap to buy adequate supplies, so I just got started with what I had. It's not going to be a big deal. Those holes aren't going to be structural. I'll be able to sand them pretty easily and they're not going to be reused, so they just need to keep water out of the core. In the last video, it seemed like there was a little bit of confusion. Some people thought we were ruining our boat when we tore out the wooden veneer on the interior of the coach roof. Now I admit we weren't clear enough and we didn't explain that we were actually going to be replacing that anyway because it was super rotted and just kind of painted over by the previous owner. Those port lights have been leaking for a while. All that water ended up rotting the veneer and it needs to be replaced. The last thing we wanted to summarize was just the work that still needs to be done before we can actually paint the deck. So we're going to be removing all of the stanchions, the bow pulpit, the stern rail, everything essentially except for the standing rigging. Freebie's going to be pretty naked, but that's going to allow us the best canvas to actually repaint the entire deck. After we removed everything, we're going to be again filling holes and fairings so that everything's nice and smooth, and then we can sand, prime, and paint. We're going to be using Interlux epoxy prime coat for the primer, and that's going to go over the entire deck. We're going to do 2 coats of that. Once that's dry, we're going to paint the smooth areas with Interlux bright side topside paint. It's a polyurethane 1-part paint, pretty easy to use. And lastly, on the non-skid areas, we're going to be applying Kiwi Grip. And all of this is going to be white, so the deck is going to be one solid uniform color. It's going to look nice and clean. We can't wait to bring you guys along with us. And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps us a lot. Also, leave a comment down below with a question or really anything. Comments help us a lot too. And obviously, if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
I've got it right and I got it wrong, but I learned